Dr. Chen, we've isolated the signal, her assistant, Dr. Raj Patel, called out. It's a distress call. Samantha's heart raced. From where? Ray's fingers danced across the holographic interface. That's the thing, Dr. Chen. It's coming from the Andromeda Galaxy. The room fell silent. Andromeda. Over 2 million light-years away. The implications were staggering. Within hours, the news had spread across Earth. Humanity, for the first time in its history, had concrete proof that they were not alone in the universe, and their cosmic neighbors were calling for help. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, Earth's first true interstellar vessel. The ship hummed with the power of its antimatter drive, a testament to human ingenuity and the breakneck pace of technological advancement over the past 5 years. Status report, Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Her first officer, Commander Jackson Lee, responded promptly. All systems nominal, Captain. The Alcubierre drive is stabilized, and we're ready to make the jump on your command. Elena nodded, taking a deep breath. This was it, the moment humanity would take its first step into the cosmic ocean. Initiate the jump, Commander. The stars on the view screen blurred, and for a moment, reality itself seemed to warp around them. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The ESS Horizon had traversed millions of light-years in the blink of an eye. Jump successful, Captain, Jackson reported, a hint of awe in his voice. We've arrived at the coordinates of the distress signal. Elena leaned forward, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar star field before them. Any sign of the source? Before Jackson could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple objects detected, the sensor officer shouted. They're massive, Captain, and they're heading straight for us. The view screen shifted, revealing a sight that would be seared into Elena's memory forever. A swarm of colossal structures, each easily dwarfing the horizon, approached at impossible speeds. They were biomechanical in nature, a fusion of organic matter and advanced technology that defied human understanding. Hail them, Elena ordered, her training kicking in despite her shock. Moments later, the view screen flickered, and Elena found herself face to face with an alien being. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but with iridescent skin that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Multiple eyes blinked in an unsettling rhythm, and when it spoke, its voice resonated directly in Elena's mind. Humans of Earth, the alien transmitted, its thoughts tinged with a mixture of hope and desperation. We are the coalition of the Forsaken. We come seeking sanctuary from a threat that consumes entire civilizations. Will you aid us in our hour of need? Elena's mind raced. This wasn't just first contact. This was a refugee crisis on a galactic scale. Whatever had driven these advanced beings to flee their homes must be terrifying beyond imagination. I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of Earth, she responded, her voice unwavering. We received your distress call and came to help. Can you tell us more about this threat you're facing? The alien's form shimmered, its eyes dimming with what Elena interpreted as sorrow. They are known as the Void Eaters. They are cosmic horrors that devour stars, planets, and the very fabric of space-time itself. We have fled across galaxies, but they always follow. Earth may be our last hope. Elena exchanged glances with her crew. The mission had just become far more complex than anyone could have anticipated. But she knew in that moment that humanity's response to this crisis would define their species for eons to come. On behalf of Earth, Elena said, her voice carrying the weight of her entire species, we offer you sanctuary. But we'll need to know everything you can tell us about these Void Eaters. If they're a threat to you, they're a threat to us all. As the alien began to share its knowledge, Elena couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, contact with alien life. But no one had imagined it would come with the news of an impending cosmic apocalypse. The ESS Horizon's mission had changed. They were no longer just explorers. They were now the harbingers of a message that would reshape human civilization forever. As Elena listened to the alien's tale, she steeled herself for the challenges ahead. Humanity was about to be thrust onto the galactic stage, ready or not. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would test the very limits of human ingenuity, compassion, and determination. The battle for survival was about to begin, and Earth would be at its center. The skies above Earth had never been so crowded. In the months following the ESS Horizon's return, the planet had become a beacon of hope for countless alien species fleeing the inexorable advance of the Void Eaters. Massive refugee ships hung in orbit, their strange geometries a stark contrast to the neat lines of human space stations. Dr. Amelia Zhao stood at the window of the International Space Station, watching as yet another alien vessel emerged from a shimmering portal. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had been tasked with coordinating the monumental effort of accommodating the diverse needs of their extraterrestrial guests. Dr. Zhao, a voice crackled over her comm, the Galactic Refugee Council is assembled and waiting for you in the conference room. Amelia sighed, steeling herself for another marathon negotiation session. On my way, she replied, pushing off from the window and gliding through the station's corridors. The conference room was a cacophony of alien languages, translator AAs working overtime to facilitate communication. Amelia's eyes swept over the assembled representatives, the liquid metal cenozoans, the crystalline quartzites, the gaseous etheri contained in their pressurized suits, and a dozen other species she was still struggling to categorize. Thank you all for coming, Amelia began, her words echoing in 100 different tongues. We're here to address the growing concerns about resource allocation and cultural integration. A Cenozoan representative rippled forward, its iridescent form shimmering with agitation. The humans' generosity is appreciated, but their world cannot sustain us all. Already, we've depleted rare elements essential for our survival. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled aliens. Amelia held up a hand for silence. We're aware of the strain on our resources. That's why we've fast-tracked the development of asteroid mining operations and are terraforming Mars TOE. She was cut off by an explosive burst of light from the quartzite delegate. The crystalline being's facets flashed in patterns that Amelia had learned to recognize as extreme distress. Mars, you speak of long-term solutions, while the Void Eaters draw ever closer. We need immediate action. The room erupted into chaos, each species vying to have their concerns heard. Amelia closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. This was the challenge of her lifetime, balancing the needs of a dozen alien species while preparing humanity for a threat they scarcely understood. Meanwhile, in the heart of New York City, tensions of a different sort were brewing. Jack Harper, a veteran of the lunar wars and self-proclaimed Earth First advocate, stood atop an overturned car, addressing a growing crowd of angry humans. They come here, taking our jobs, our resources, changing our way of life. Jack shouted, his voice amplified by the makeshift sound system. And for what? To save them from some cosmic boogeyman we've never even seen. The crowd roared in agreement. Signs bobbed above the sea of people, bearing slogans like "Humans Only" and "Send Them Back." On the fringes of the protest, Officer Maria Delgado watched with growing unease. She keyed her radio. "Central, we're going to need backup. This crowd is getting out of control." As if on cue, a group of protesters broke away, surging towards a nearby alien cultural center. The delicate crystalline architecture of the quartzite embassy glittered in the afternoon sun, oblivious to the approaching threat. Maria sprinted forward, placing herself between the mob and the embassy. "Stand down," she shouted, her hand on her holstered weapon. "This is a protected diplomatic zone." The protesters hesitated, the fury in their eyes mixing with uncertainty. But Jack's voice rang out again, spurring them on. "Are we going to let them hide behind human laws or they steal our planet?" The crowd surged forward, and Maria found herself overwhelmed. As the first rocks shattered against the crystal walls of the embassy, she realized with horror that this was only the beginning of a conflict that could tear humanity apart. In the depths of the Pentagon, General Sarah Hawthorne reviewed the latest intelligence reports with a growing sense of dread. The Void Eaters were no longer a distant threat. Long-range sensors had detected their approach at the edge of the Milky Way. "How long do we have?" she asked, her voice tight with tension. Colonel David Chen, her chief of staff, consulted his tablet. "Best estimates give us 2 years, maybe 3, before they reach Earth." Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of billions of lives, human and alien, on her shoulders, and our defenses. David shook his head. "The alien refugees have shared their technology, but even their most advanced weapons were barely able to slow the Void Eaters down. We're working on adapting their designs, but we need a miracle," Sarah finished. She stood, walking to the window that overlooked the Pentagon courtyard. Below, she could see human and alien scientists hurrying between buildings, their unlikely collaboration humanity's best hope for survival. "Get me a secure line to the president," Sarah said, her mind made up. "It's time we bring the public fully into the loop. No more sugarcoating, no more half-truths. If we're going to survive this, we need every human on Earth working together." As David hurried to comply, Sarah allowed herself a moment of doubt. The refugee crisis had already pushed human society to its breaking point. How would they react when they learned the full truth of the danger they faced? The future of not just humanity, but of all sentient life in the galaxy, hung in the balance. And as the distant void grew ever hungrier, Sarah knew that their time was running out. The coming days would test humanity's resolve, ingenuity, and capacity for unity in the face of cosmic horror. The question remained: would they rise to the challenge, or be consumed by fear and division? The sprawling complex of the Global Defense Initiative, GDI, hummed with activity. Once a decommissioned particle accelerator, it had been repurposed into humanity's last, best hope against the approaching Void Eaters. Scientists from Earth worked alongside their alien counterparts, the air thick with a mixture of determination and desperation. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka stood before a holographic display, his eyes darting between complex equations and simulations. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, he had been tasked with developing a defense against an enemy that defied the laws of physics as humanity understood them. "Dr. Tanaka," a melodious voice chimed. Hiroshi turned to see Zixata, a Sinosian scientist, its liquid metal form rippling with patterns that Hiroshi had learned to interpret as excitement. "We've made a breakthrough in the quantum shielding algorithms." Hiroshi's eyes widened. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, showcasing a new set of equations. As Hiroshi absorbed the information, a smile spread across his face. This could work. If we can generate a field that exists in multiple quantum states simultaneously, we could create a barrier impenetrable to the Void Eater's reality warping abilities, Zixata finished. For the first time in months, Hiroshi felt a glimmer of hope. He reached for the comm panel. "Get me General Hawthorne. We're ready for a full-scale test." Aboard the ESS Defender, Earth's most advanced warship, Captain Elena Rodriguez watched as her crew made final preparations. The ship hovered at the edge of the solar system, as far from Earth as they dared to conduct the test. "Quantum shield generator is online, Captain," reported Commander Lee. "We're ready to initiate on your command." Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. If this test failed, they might not have time to develop another defense before the Void Eaters arrived. Initiate the quantum shield. A shimmering field enveloped the ship, its surface rippling with impossible colors as it fluctuated between quantum states. Elena felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. Status report. "Shield is stable," Captain Lee confirmed. "All readings are within expected parameters." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent. Prepare the test probe." A sleek, unmanned craft detached from the Defender, its hull modified to emit energy signatures similar to those of the Void Eaters. As it approached the quantum shield, Elena leaned forward in her chair, her heart pounding. The probe struck the shield and vanished. For a moment, silence reigned on the bridge. Then alarms blared, and the ship shuddered violently. "Report," Elena shouted over the cacophony. Lee's fingers flew over his console. "The probe, it's gone, Captain, but it's created some kind of quantum instability. The shield is collapsing." Elena's mind raced. "Shut down the generator. All power to engines. Get us out of here." The defender lurched away from the expanding sphere of quantum instability. As they watched in horror, the anomaly grew, swallowing nearby asteroids and distorting the very fabric of space around it. "My God," Elena whispered. "What have we done?" Back on Earth, in the control room of the GDI, Dr. Tanaka stared at the incoming data with a mixture of fascination and dread. The test had failed spectacularly, but the results— "This is unprecedented," he murmured, more to himself than to the room of anxious scientists and military personnel. The quantum shield didn't just fail, it created a pocket of space-time operating under entirely new physical laws. General Hawthorne's voice cut through the tension. In English, "Doctor, what does this mean for our defense plans?" Hiroshi turned to face the assembled crowd, his eyes bright with the fire of scientific discovery. "It means we stumbled upon something far more powerful than we intended. If we can control it, we might have a weapon capable of not just stopping the Void Eaters, but potentially unmaking them entirely." A ripple of excitement passed through the alien scientists, but Zixata's form darkened with concern. The energy required to generate such an effect on a scale large enough to combat the Void Eaters, it would be astronomical. "Then we'll find a way to generate it," Hiroshi said firmly. "We have to." As the room erupted into discussion, Dr. Amelia Zhao stepped forward, her face grave. "There's something else we need to consider," she said, her voice cutting through the chatter. "The ethical implications. Are we justified in using a weapon that could potentially destroy not just the Void Eaters, but reshape reality itself? What if there are unintended consequences we can't foresee?" The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. They stood at a crossroads, the fate of not just humanity, but of all sentient life hanging in the balance. General Hawthorne's voice was solemn when she finally spoke. "We don't have the luxury of ethical debates. The Void Eaters are coming, and we need every advantage we can get. Dr. Tanaka, you have full authorization to continue your research. But," she added, her eyes sweeping the room, "we proceed with caution. I want fail-safes, contingencies, and a full risk assessment at every stage." As the meeting adjourned, Hiroshi found himself standing beside Zixata. The Cynotian's liquid form rippled with complex emotions that Hiroshi couldn't quite decipher. "We're treading a dangerous path," Zixata said softly. Hiroshi nodded, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of the quantum anomaly. "Yes," he agreed, "but sometimes, to defeat monsters, we must risk becoming them ourselves." As they turned back to their work, neither of them noticed Amelia slipping out of the room, her face set with grim determination. She had made a decision, one that could either save humanity or tear it apart from within. The race against time continued, but now the question loomed. In their desperate bid for survival, would humanity lose sight of what made them human in the first place? The vast expanse of space near the Oort cloud shimmered with the combined might of Earth's defense fleet. Hundreds of ships, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, formed a barrier between humanity's home and the approaching cosmic horror. At the center of the formation, the ESS Defender stood ready, its hull gleaming with the retrofitted quantum weapon. On the bridge, Captain Elena Rodriguez surveyed the assembled armada. Human vessels flew alongside the exotic craft of their alien allies, a testament to the unity forged in the face of extinction. "All ships report ready, Captain," Commander Lee announced, his voice tense with anticipation. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the long-range sensors. And our guests. Lee's expression tightened. Dr. Zhao and the alien representatives are secure in the observation deck. They're not happy about being here, but they understood the necessity. Good, Elena replied. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. Open a channel to the fleet. As Lee complied, Elena straightened her uniform. When she spoke, her voice carried across the vast distances of space, reaching every ship in the assembled force. This is Captain Rodriguez. In moments, we will face an enemy unlike any we have encountered before. The Void Eaters have consumed countless civilizations, driven our allies from their homes, and now threaten everything we hold dear. But today we stand united. Human and alien, we fight as one for the right to exist. She paused, letting her words sink in. We carry with us a weapon born of human ingenuity and alien wisdom. It is untested, dangerous, and may be our only hope. Whatever happens, know that your courage and sacrifice will be remembered for generations to come. Good luck and Godspeed. As the channel closed, a sudden alarm blared across the bridge. Captain, Lee shouted. Multiple anomalies detected. They're here. The view screen lit up with a sight that defied description. Massive, writhing shapes emerged from the darkness of space, their forms constantly shifting and warping. Where they passed, stars winked out of existence, swallowed by an unnatural void. All ships, battle formations, Elena commanded. Defender will move into position for weapon deployment. Squadrons A through F provide cover fire. The rest of you, keep those things occupied and away from Earth at all costs. The space around them erupted into chaos. Energy beams and exotic weaponry lanced out from the Earth fleet, only to be swallowed by the ever-expanding void. Smaller ships darted between the colossal forms of the Void Eaters, searching for weaknesses that seemed non-existent. On the Defender's observation deck, Dr. Amelia Zhao watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and terror. Beside her, the alien representatives huddled together, their varied forms trembling with fear and anticipation. By the eternal stars, Zixata whispered, its liquid metal form rippling with distress. I never imagined that even more terrifying up close. Amelia placed a comforting hand on what she assumed was Zixata's shoulder. We've come too far to give up now. Our weapon will work. It has to. Back on the bridge, Elena gripped her chair as the Defender shuddered under a near miss. Status on the quantum weapon. Charging at 80%, Captain Lee reported. But our shields are failing. We need more time. Elena gritted her teeth. Divert all non-essential power to shields. We only need one shot. Outside, the battle raged on. Human fighters and alien craft alike were swallowed by the encroaching void, their sacrifice buying precious seconds for the Defender. The Void Eaters seemed to sense the threat, focusing their assault on Elena's ship with terrifying intensity. Weapon charged, Captain, Lee shouted over the sound of failing systems. But our targeting array's down. We'll have to fire manually. Elena's mind raced. A manual shot at this range, against a target that defied physical laws, it was nearly impossible. But then, humanity had already achieved the impossible just by being here. I'll do it, she said, rising from her chair. Transfer weapon control to my station. As Elena took position at the weapons console, time seemed to slow. The chaos of battle faded away, leaving only her, the weapon, and the writhing horror that threatened all of existence. She took a deep breath, her finger hovering over the firing control. In that moment, Elena thought of Earth, of the billions of lives depending on her, of the aliens who had placed their trust in humanity. With a silent prayer, she pressed the button. A beam of impossible energy lanced out from the Defender, its surface rippling with quantum fluctuations. It struck the nearest Void Eater dead center, and for a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, reality itself seemed to scream. The Void Eater's form began to twist and distort, caught in the grip of conflicting laws of physics. The anomaly spread, engulfing more of the cosmic horrors. Space itself warped around the conflagration, stars blinking in and out of existence. "All ships fall back," Elena shouted, hoping her command would reach the fleet through the interference. "Get clear of the anomaly." The Defender shuddered as Elena pushed its engines to the limit, racing to escape the expanding field of chaos they had unleashed. Behind them, the Void Eaters writhed in what could only be described as agony, their very essence being unmade by the weapon they had inspired. As the fleet regrouped at a safe distance, Elena watched the sensor readings with bated breath. Slowly, agonizingly, the quantum anomaly began to stabilize. Where once the Void Eaters had threatened all of existence, now there was only empty space, sprinkled with newborn stars. A cheer went up across the fleet as the realization set in: they had won. Humanity and its allies had faced the ultimate threat and emerged victorious. But as the celebration raged around her, Elena felt a deep unease. They had defeated the Void Eaters, yes, but at what cost? The weapon they had unleashed was more powerful and terrifying than anything in human history, and somewhere out in the darkness of space, more Void Eaters lurked, waiting to continue their endless hunger. As the fleet began its journey home, Elena knew that this victory was only the beginning. The real challenge lay ahead, forging a new future for humanity and their alien allies in a universe that suddenly seemed both more wondrous and more terrifying than ever before. The mood in the United Nations Assembly Hall was somber. Representatives from every nation on Earth, along with delegates from the various alien refugee species, sat in tense silence. At the podium, Dr. Amelia Zhao stood, her face etched with the weight of recent events. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored alien guests," she began, her voice echoing through the cavernous room. "We stand at a crossroads. Our victory against the Void Eaters, while decisive, has raised more questions than it answered. And now we face a choice that will determine the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life in our galaxy." Amelia paused, her eyes sweeping across the assembled crowd. "During the battle, we recovered data from the quantum anomaly created by our weapon. This data, when combined with information from our alien allies, has led us to a startling discovery about the true nature of the Void Eaters." A murmur rippled through the audience. Amelia took a deep breath before continuing. "We have reason to believe that the Void Eaters are not a natural phenomenon, nor are they mindless destroyers. They are, in fact, the creation of an ancient, highly advanced civilization known as the Precursors." The hall erupted into chaos. Shouts of disbelief and anger echoed off the walls. Amelia raised her hands, calling for silence. "Please, let me explain. The Precursors were a species that existed billions of years ago. They had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe and sought to transcend physical existence itself. The Void Eaters were their ultimate creation, beings of pure energy and consciousness designed to explore the deepest mysteries of the cosmos." She clicked a remote, and a holographic display sprang to life behind her. It showed complex schematics and what appeared to be an ancient alien language. "This information comes from a hidden repository of precursor knowledge discovered by one of our alien allies. It suggests that something went wrong with the Void Eaters. Instead of exploring, they began to consume, driven by an insatiable hunger that their creators never intended." The room had fallen deathly quiet. Amelia could feel the weight of countless eyes upon her. The Precursors, realizing their mistake, tried to stop their creation, but it was too late. The Void Eaters turned on them, consuming their civilization and spreading across the galaxy. The Precursors' last act was to leave behind warnings and fragments of their knowledge, hoping that future civilizations might find a way to correct their mistake. General Hawthorne stood up, her face a mask of barely contained anger. "Dr. Zhao, are you suggesting that we show mercy to these things that have destroyed countless worlds?" Amelia met the general's gaze steadily. "I'm suggesting that we have a responsibility to understand before we act. The weapon we used in the battle didn't destroy the Void Eaters, it transformed them. We have a chance to communicate, to perhaps find a way to reverse what the precursors began. The alien delegate Zixata surged forward, its liquid metal form rippling with agitation. You speak of communication, but how many more must die while we attempt to reason with cosmic horrors? We should use your weapon to end this threat once and for all. A chorus of agreement rose from many of the assembled delegates, both human and alien. But before Amelia could respond, another voice cut through the din. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka stood, his usually calm demeanor replaced by fierce determination. We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions, he said, his voice carrying across the hall. The weapon we created is as much a danger to us as it is to the Void Eaters. If we continue to use it indiscriminately, we risk unraveling the very fabric of our universe. The room fell silent once more. Amelia nodded gratefully to Hiroshi before addressing the assembly again. We propose a mission, she said, a small team comprised of our best scientists and representatives from our alien allies. We will attempt to establish communication with the transformed Void Eaters. If we succeed, we might not only end this threat, but also gain knowledge beyond our wildest dreams. General Hawthorne's voice was cold when she spoke. And if you fail, if these transformed Void Eaters are just as hungry as before? Amelia's expression was grim. Then we will have no choice but to use the weapon again with full knowledge of the consequences. The debate raged for hours. Arguments for preservation and understanding clashed with calls for decisive military action. As the session finally adjourned, no clear consensus had been reached. In a quiet corner of the building, Amelia found herself face to face with Captain Elena Rodriguez. The captain's eyes were haunted, the weight of the lives lost in battle clearly visible in her expression. "Do you really believe we can communicate with them?" Elena asked softly. Amelia sighed. "I have to believe it's possible. The alternative, I'm not sure humanity could live with itself if we become the very monsters we sought to defeat." Elena nodded slowly. "If this mission goes forward, I want to lead it. My crew and I, we need to see this through." As they shook hands, both women knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the choices they made in the coming days would echo through eternity. Outside, the night sky glittered with stars, and somewhere among them, the transformed Void Eaters waited, their true nature yet to be understood. The ESS Horizon, once a vessel of exploration, now stood as humanity's last hope for redemption. Its sleek hull had been reinforced with alien technology, a fusion of human ingenuity and extraterrestrial wisdom. At the helm, Captain Elena Rodriguez surveyed her crew, a mix of Earth's finest and representatives from their alien allies. Dr. Amelia Zhao stood at the science station, her fingers dancing over holographic displays as she fine-tuned the experimental communication array. Beside her, the liquid metal form of Zixata rippled with nervous energy. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka occupied the engineering console, his brow furrowed in concentration as he monitored the ship's quantum drive. "All systems a go, Captain," Commander Lee reported, his voice steady despite the tension that permeated the bridge. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen. Before them loomed a massive quantum anomaly, the transformed remnants of the Void Eaters they had battled months ago. "Take us in, Helm," Elena ordered. "Nice and easy." As the horizon edged closer to the anomaly, reality itself seemed to warp around them. Colors shifted in impossible ways, and for a moment, Elena could have sworn she saw echoes of other versions of her ship, her crew, herself. "Quantum fluctuations are intensifying," Amelia reported, her voice tight. "We're approaching the theoretical limit of our shielding." Elena gritted her teeth. "Hold position here. Dr. Zhao, you're up." Amelia took a deep breath, centering herself before activating the communication array. A beam of coherent quantum information lanced out from the horizon, piercing the swirling chaos before them. For several agonizing moments, nothing happened. Then suddenly, The view screen exploded with light and sound. Strange, fractal patterns danced across its surface, accompanied by a haunting melody that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of space-time. "It's beautiful," Zixata whispered, its form undulating in sync with the patterns. Amelia's fingers flew over her console, undetecting a response. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The complexity of the data is off the charts." As the crew watched in awe, the patterns began to coalesce, forming shapes that were almost, but not quite, comprehensible. And then a voice, or perhaps a chorus of voices, filled the bridge, bypassing their comm systems and resonating directly in their minds. "You reached us," the voice said, each word laden with layers of meaning and emotion. "Long have we wandered. Long have we hungered. You are different." Elena stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We are humans, and these are our allies. We've come to understand, to find a way to coexist. Can you tell us who you are?" The patterns on the screen shifted, forming what might have been a face, or perhaps a galaxy. "We were meant to explore, to learn, but our creators, they feared us, tried to unmake us. We consumed to survive, to understand, but in consuming, we lost ourselves." Amelia leaned in, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "The weapon we used, it changed you. How?" A ripple passed through the anomaly, and for a moment, the horizon shuddered. "You gave us clarity. In unmaking, we remembered our purpose. But the hunger, it still calls." Elena exchanged glances with her crew. This was the moment of truth. "We want to help you," she said carefully. "But we can't allow you to continue consuming worlds and civilizations. Is there another way? Can we find a solution together?" The entity was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried a note of wonder. "Together, a concept we have forgotten. Yes, perhaps, your weapon, it holds the key. Not to destroy, but to transform, to allow us to explore without consuming." Hiroshi's eyes widened. "Of course, if we can modify the quantum weapon to create stable pockets of altered space-time, we could create environments where the Void Eaters could exist without threatening other life." Amelia finished, excitement building in her voice. Elena held up a hand, caution tempering her hope. "It's a start, but we'll need more than that. We need assurances, a way to communicate and cooperate long-term." The entity's response was immediate. "We offer knowledge, the wisdom of countless civilizations we have encountered. In exchange for your help, we will share everything." The implications were staggering. Elena looked around at her crew, seeing the same mix of hope and trepidation reflected in their eyes, human and alien alike. "We accept," Elena said firmly. "Let this be the beginning of a new era of cooperation and understanding." As the words left her mouth, Elena felt a shift in the very air around them. The anomaly pulsed, and suddenly, information began pouring into the horizon's systems. Star charts of uncharted regions, scientific knowledge beyond their wildest dreams, philosophical insights from long-dead civilizations, a treasure trove of cosmic wisdom. In that moment, Elena understood that they stood at the threshold of a new chapter in the history of all sentient life. Humanity, through its determination, ingenuity, and capacity for compassion, had not only saved itself, but had opened the door to a future filled with infinite possibilities. As the horizon began its journey home, carrying with it the key to transforming the Void Eaters and the promise of unprecedented cooperation, Elena couldn't help but smile. They have faced the ultimate threat and emerged not just victorious, but enlightened. The stars seemed to shine brighter as they traveled, a galaxy full of wonders waiting to be explored. And this time they will explore it together, humans, aliens, and the transformed cosmic entities that had once threatened to consume them all. In the end, it wasn't just humanity that had triumphed. It was the very idea of unity, of finding common ground in the face of seemingly insurmountable differences. As they approached Earth, Elena knew that the real work was just beginning. But for the first time since the Void Eaters had appeared, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. The future, vast and unknown, beckoned, and humanity, along with its newfound allies, was ready to face it head-on.